Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Sincerely Self podcast. The conversation we're going to have today, I'm so excited for because it's a topic and a conversation that I don't think I've ever had on this podcast before. So it's something new and I'm so excited for it. Our guest today is a realtor, an author, a speaker, and also a podcast host. We are joined by Kim Costa today. Kim, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
Yes, I'm so excited for what we're going to dive into today. Before we get started, Kim, tell us for our audience members that may not be familiar with your story, kind of tell us your journey and what led you to where you are now.
Sure. So I am a realtor in North Atlanta, top realtor. I've only been doing it since 2017, and before that I was in residential construction, but on the finance side. So I felt a really big, and I did that for 27 years. So I'm about to turn 60, so a little older, but feeling quite young and invigorated about my next 30 years. So trying to really be authentic and who I was made to be. So the first 27, 30 years, I did accounting, which I'm not really, supposed to be doing, wasn't super thrilled. And then I switched into I was in the creative field of residential design and remodeling and things like that, but I wanted to be the one talking about it and being in the homes and working with the people instead of crunching the numbers behind all the projects. So I switched into real estate. And before I really did that, I verified that I had the personality for it. So I took a personality test and I'm an ENFP, which nowhere does it say you should ever do accounting. So right brain, creative, people person, intuitive, empathetic, all those things. So I just switched into the career of real estate and then also writing and podcasting now to tell stories about people and help people align their lives with their homes.
I love it. I also love that you took a personality test
Yeah.
because that's so fun. It kind of tells you so many things about what you're drawn towards. Like you were saying, maybe things that aren't very aligned with your personality type.
Hmm.
And it is such a good indicator of like, okay, this is why I feel drawn towards these certain jobs and these certain
Right.
environments. So
Hmm.
I love that you're able to be like, okay, yeah, this is where I want to go. And you've been able to thrive in it and help other people. I always think it's so fun to have other podcasting hosts because they just get it and they love to also tell the stories.
Yes, the stories are so much. So the personality that I ended up being ENFP was like um Will Smith, Sandra Bullock, like the comedians and the storytell like Mark Twain, Charles Dickens, all the classic writers that would just tell really interesting stories about people. And so for me, like the more I get to talk to people and hear their story, it's like I see their potential and I think of options that would be really cool for them. And so that's really, really thrilling for me.
Yeah, yeah, being able to help other people and kind of guide them to find the light at the end of the tunnel like you were able to find.
Yes, but I just don't want them to wait 30 years like I did.
Yeah, you're like, actually, here, I'm
Hope
going
to
to tell it
catch
to you
them
now.
earlier. Like
Yeah.
25 years earlier would have been great.
But I love that you were also saying like you were looking onto the rest of the years of your life with so much compassion and so much love and so much excitement. Like there's so many things still yet that you're going to achieve and experience and
Mm,
explore. And I think it's such a refreshing aspect because so many times the older we get, the more we're like, I'm running out of time. But
mm,
looking at it as like, I still have so much that I get to do. I still have so many things I get to achieve. And that
hmm.
you're right where you're supposed to be.
Exactly. And all of those things were learning experiences for me. And so
Yeah.
every experience I've had, I've tried to take a learning from that. Like the accounting does come in handy in real estate, because you
Mhm.
have to evaluate pricing of homes and financial budgets and taxes and all those and closing costs, all those things. So I get to take that and some of my human resource development skills and apply it now. So like it's never a failure. It's just a learning experience.
Yes, exactly. I want everyone who's listening right now to just take that in. It's never a failure, it's always a learning experience because it's so true. When you start viewing things more in that way, you see how things were for you and not happening to you.
Mm. Very true. And I think too, it's important to also listen to the whispers of what you, I wouldn't say should be doing, because, should isn't the best word, but whispers of what's more aligned with you. Because I had many whispers when I was in my 20s and 30s that, I wanted to go to design school, which I ended up doing. I wanted to go to human resource development because that was very person based. But somehow I got stuck in the accounting part, and it's like I had a headache in the left side of my brain. Well, I wonder why. Because my brain's not made to do accounting 8 hours a day. It's made to be
Mhm.
around people more. Why would I sneak out of my office and start talking to people? Because my brain couldn't take it anymore. And so I didn't listen to the whispers of that. And a really important story in my life was there were other whispers that I was living out of alignment with my career, my primary relationship, my hobbies even were wrong. I'm a golfer. I've always been I like golf and yoga, and I love being outside. But I was horseback riding, and while I was horseback riding, I wasn't very good at it. And I was a little frightened of these beautiful, lovely animals, like 1,500 pound animals. So
Mhm.
I did not win a little argument that I had with my horse one day, and he threw me off, and I fell off and broke my back. Now, why, I would have rather been golfing because I'm good at it and it's what I've always done. But I was like, I can horseback ride. That's what everybody's doing. That's what they do in my area. That's what other family members are doing. But I was like, I'll just do it because I should do it because everyone else is doing it. Well, no, I wasn't having fun. I broke my back doing it. And while I was in the hospital, the doctor put her hand on my legs and said, I don't know why you're going to walk again. You must have an angel on your shoulder. And I was like, okay, well, I really can't do this again. There were whispers that I shouldn't be doing
Mhm.
it until I didn't listen and I got bonked on the head with a broken back because I didn't listen to self, my own self that said, I don't want to do this. It's too cold out. This horse is uncontrollable. And I just ignored all of those thoughts I had in my head. And so I just want to say to all the young people, listen to the whispers because if you don't, it becomes a big bonk on the head. And you have no
Yeah.
choice but to listen. So that's sort of my origin story.
Yeah, that is insane. And I love that you made such a big emphasis of you felt like you were doing what you're supposed to do because you were doing what other people were doing. And
Yes.
I think so many of us can pinpoint a spot in our life where we've felt that same way and maybe we've had an outcome happen that we're like, okay, well, I could have definitely avoided this if I would have just listened to myself. But so many
Mhm.
times we get stuck in the loop of, okay, well, everyone else is doing this, so this is what I need to do and this is what I should do. And so it is so true that when we aren't listening to those whispers and the inner guidance,
Mhm.
it will get us to the point where we have no other choice, like you
That's
were
we have
saying.
a
Yeah.
tragedy or something, much worse happens. And
Yeah.
it's just about living in alignment with who you were made to be. And sometimes you do have to make mistakes to realize, oh, that's not the hat I should be wearing. I'll try on another hat. And part of growing through life is experimenting. And I hope that never dies for people. But learn from the mistakes, try something new, and then if it feels good and it seems aligned with the real you, don't worry about what other people say because you're not going to be successful at what they're good at, and vice versa. And everything that starts to align. It's just almost like serendipity. When you're doing the
Yeah.
right things, more good things happen, and you meet the right people, and then it takes the next step, and all of a sudden you've succeeded, at what you're good at.
Yeah, I like to say when you start living more aligned and you get into the path of that,
Hmm.
it feels as if there's like little nuances and things that are happening that you're like, how is this happening? Like
Yeah,
you can just feel that you're where you're supposed to be and little coincidences that you're like, this is so crazy. Like this would not happen if I
right.
weren't aligned. And one of the I would say one of the most important parts in becoming aligned with who you are is aligning your space. And the space that you're
Mm.
in has such a toll on your mental. And so how have you been able to see that correlation play out for people?
Well, the first place that I see it is are the pain points they mention when they're looking for a new place. And it's always, I'm lonely, because I live out in the middle of nowhere and my partner left. And now I've got this house that I can't maintain by myself. So it's always like I'm lonely, I'm frustrated, I'm overwhelmed, it's too much. Or like I don't have a space to do this. Or I'm not near that person that, like, my best friend is 45 minutes away and now I never see them. And so, or my yoga studio is now across town and I don't like, there's not one here. I don't have one to do what I like to do for fun or to keep my health up.
Mhm.
So it always starts as a pain point, and then that's a primary reason they're moving. But in my process and the wheelhouse assessment, there are 8 areas. So even if you're moving for one area, like you got a promotion, let's just say, and thank goodness it's a wonderful thing, you get more money, but now you have to move to Austin, Texas. Well, your home in Leesburg, Virginia is not going to work. So you're
Yeah.
moving, you're moving for your career, but what do you need? Like, what do you like to do for fun? Do you like being near the water? Do you want to walk the river walk? Do you want to be around young people? Do you do CrossFit? I mean, is there a CrossFit place? Do you worship somewhere? Is there a place for you to do that? And so you go around these 8 different areas to align your space for your next stage of life, not just in one area because, oh, it's going to be in Austin, I'll live anywhere. No, let's maximize each of the 8 areas.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I think so many times people feel those ways and they don't realize it's tied to like where they're at. They,
Hmm.
the fear of going into the uncomfortable sometimes keeps us where we're at
Mm.
because we think, oh, I grew up in this area, I know it, all my friends and family are here. So even though there aren't things that I feel like are the joys in my life that are close to
Hmm.
me, I guess I'm gonna stay here. And that settling and that staying where you are because that's what you've known is what holds you back from being able to align with the things that are more meant for you and the opportunities. And so, like you were saying, if you feel a pull to move somewhere else, try and think of the things that you like to do and the hobbies that you have and see
Hmm.
what feels like a good fit.
Hmm. And maybe take a visit or two or three.
Yeah.
And just, you could rent an Airbnb or stay somewhere, stay with a friend. And then all those things you like to do, are they close by? And do you resonate with the people in that area? Are they going to be accepting of you? And are you going to make more friends or, find the right job? And so I think there's nothing wrong with like trying things out, even if you rent somewhere in that town or city for a year, you may find like, oh, just one little town over is just a little bit better for me. Or I think I really need a high-rise condo, not a townhome or a house where I have to maintain. So if you try out something just for a little bit first, I think that's a really good place to be as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I read a quote the other day that was indecision takes more time than the wrong decision. Like, not knowing
Mm,
what you should do takes
yeah.
up more time than if you were to just try something and it doesn't end up working out. So I love that you were saying, try something out, go and visit, go take a stay somewhere for a week, because the worst thing that could happen is you decide you don't want to live there. And so you might as well give it a shot and you'll discover more ways of, okay, well, I like this more. Oh, actually, I like this a little bit more. And you'll be able to discover it as you go instead of just kind of staying where you're at because you're not sure where to start.
Right. Yeah, because it's just an opportunity to really thrive in life,
Mhm.
to just, try a couple of things out and then have the short list of the things you need in your home. Um, Are you an introvert or an extrovert? Match that personality to your surroundings. Is there a space in your residence, that your future residence, for you to have some quiet if you're an introvert? Or is it like you look out your window and all you see are people, and you walk out on the street and it's busy and you hear sirens at night? And so that may not give you the downtime that you need. So also align it with like how you were made.
Yeah, yeah, just the little things that we don't really notice when we're planning things out. It's kind of you experience it as you go and you're like, "Oh, wait a minute. This is something that doesn't align with me. I kind of totally forgot." So,
Right.
for our audience that may be relating to this, you're listening to this and you're thinking, I have definitely felt that. Like, I'm feeling this right now. What should I do? Kim, you have created the Wheelhouse Assessment. So,
Mm-hmm.
tell our audience a little bit about that and what it consists of.
Sure. So it's in the shape of a wheel, and it's from the coaching tool, the Wheel of Life, which has 8 different areas, and they're health, finance, spirituality, friends and family, entertainment, romance, career, and environment. So these are the 8 areas that you want to align your life with. But in the Wheelhouse Assessment, it's 2 words. It's about your home. So it's aligning your home in each of those 8 areas to support the way that you like to live. And then in turn, it's like more comfort and joy. It's maximized potential because there aren't any blocks in your direct living environment that don't fit you or block. If you're an extrovert, you need to be near people, or you need to have a space in your home that you can have people in. All the different things. So it's just, it's just all about alignment in those 8 areas.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you've kind of been able to create this one place where people can go and sort things out. Because I feel like once you start realizing, okay, I'm not where I need to be, now what do I do? This kind of gives them a place where they can go and they're like, okay, I'm going to check off these areas. I'm going to see what I'm feeling. I'm going to check in with myself
Mhm.
and be able to figure out what my next steps should be.
Yeah. And the subtitle of the book is An Empowering Guide to Stay, Go, or Reno. And so that means your home, but it also means parts of your life, like what needs fixing, what needs tweaking. And so if you go through each of the 8 areas and you journal as you're reading and you answer questions and you rate each area from 1 to 10 and what would look like if it were a 10. And once you start journaling and writing those things down, you cannot unsee them. It's almost like you have aha moments to like, like when I envision my next place, it brings me joy if it's like filled with sun and like there's sunlight. I don't want it to be dark because that's depressing to me. And I need it in a warmer climate or whatever. And so it's just what would your ideal lifestyle look like in your next stage of life?
Yeah. For audience members that maybe struggle with a lack mindset when it comes to where they should go, a lot of people I see on social media posting, they're like, I don't enjoy living in the cold, but I feel like I would never be able to move somewhere where it's warm. I couldn't do it. I couldn't move that far. Ways that they kind of limit themselves and believe that they couldn't achieve it. How have you seen people be able to overcome those beliefs?
Really, again, it's just about going to try it. Or if you have a friend that maybe moved to Arizona and they love it, and you at least have one person that you know. And if the reason you don't want to move is because you'll miss your family, I mean, that's a valid reason. It really is. So maybe make sure you move to a city that has affordable um, flights back to your hometown and and move to a place that your family wants to come visit, because then it's not just you seeing them once a year, it's them making a trip out to see you several times a year. Um, and I have to add too that why be miserable in a place you don't want to live every day and hold yourself back just because of one reason? And I won't say it's a small reason because we all love our family and are good friends, but you can keep in touch with them. There's Zoom, there's all kinds of ways to keep in touch. So why limit yourself personally when you could improve that's one area, family and friends. You could improve 7 other areas and make new friends in that other place, and then they become like family. And who knows, your family might move to you and they might want to get out of the cold as well.
Yeah, I love that. That's so true. Sometimes we limit ourselves based off of the sake of being close to family and friends or the sake of being close to the people that we love. And it just comes down to you don't know what's going to happen next. Like you were saying,
Hmm.
they might move to you, or you don't
Hmm.
know the people that you're going to meet
Mm.
wherever you move. You might make new core friends and be able to have them all be together when they come and visit. You never know
Yeah.
what the next thing will be from the outcome of your choices, and you're not going to know until you make the jump. How would
Mhm.
you say you've been able to help others overcome that first step? I feel like that's the scariest part, the jump of this is what I'm going to do and I'm going to start doing it now.
Well, I think it's the first thing is to help them take a pause and take an inventory because the first step in my process, even it's in the shape of a house and in the foundation are the four M's. So before we even talk about what their house or home is going to look like, they need to go through the four M's. And that's the first one is M for myself. Who am I? What's my personality? What are my values? And the second one is mastery. Have I mastered a gift that I was given? That kind of goes along with like what types of things how does your brain work and what types of things would you be good at? And then concentrate on that, be in your genius zone. And then mission, how am I helping other people with my mastery of my gifts? That is proven to provide happiness. And then the last is mates mate or mates, your primary mate and your friends, etc. Who have you surrounded yourself with that sees the real you and supports that? And also like who do you let in your home? Who are you allowing in your home? Do they sabotage you or do they support you? And so the four M's is where we start because if that's out of alignment, it's like hopping on a plane that is misguided by 5 degrees and you end up in Chicago when you're really trying to go to Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And it's so important too. It's like that's your foundation. And if your foundation isn't stable, then nothing else can come from that. So I love how that
Hmm.
the four M's are really the foundation of what creates a successful experience and a successful environment for you to be able to grow into.
Absolutely. And so I equate it to when I go look at houses, and this happens, I would say one out of every 15 or 20 times. If I start walking through the main level of the house and I see cracks coming off the doorways and the door isn't lined up, and that means there's a crack in the foundation. It affects the entire rest of the house. Similar to how the four M's, if those are out of alignment, if the basement's out of alignment, the foundation is out of alignment, the rest of your house isn't going to be healthy. And so you have to start there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Kim, the last thing I want to touch on for this episode today is you and I talked about this a little bit before we started recording, how this whole process starts with you and it starts with your core. So, what advice would you give to our audience members on how they can start really figuring out who they are within as they start this process?
Well, I would say get a little bit quiet, turn off the noise, get in touch with yourself, ground yourself with some meditation, a walk in nature, and journal. Take a personality test. I don't think it's the end all be all, but I think it provides some valuable information. I've taken many of them. I'm a little bit of a personality test junkie because people fascinate me. So, I would say start there and just really don't listen to what people tell you to be. Listen to yourself. Listen to how you were made and the things that bring you joy and the things that are hard for you. Avoid maybe. I mean, not all hard things are bad, but the things that are difficult for you may not be the way you need to head towards. So listen to what brings you joy and where you all time disappears and you're in your what do you call? You're in well, it's your zone of genius, but it's like the zone where it just all time elapses and you're joyful doing it. And it's like you come out of another planet when that's how I feel when I'm writing. And so what is it that brings you joy? And start with that.
Yeah, I love it. I feel like we all have this inner compass or the inner whisper, like you were saying. And the more that we just kind of follow that with what feels right and what feels wrong and not aligned, it will be able to guide us exactly where we're supposed to be.
Hmm. And I'll also add, I'm a right brain person. I think we're only 20% of the population. And so I
Oh,
always
wow.
was a bit of a daydreamer. I was good at school, especially if I liked the subject. I was very, very good at many things, and then other things I just would zone out, because school is meant for mostly left brain people, traditional school,
Mhm.
where you're tested and you're memorizing things, and that is just so boring to me that I had trouble concentrating. But that is just how my brain is made. So that's why I probably should not have been an accountant because it is routine. And then when I found out my personality, I was like, well, what do you do with that? I mean, not everybody can be Mark Twain. It's like one out of 1,000 writers actually make it. So I had to give myself permission to just do what I was good at, and that's conversing with people, seeing the potential, being empathetic, and figuring out options for them. And that's exactly what a realtor does. And only what is it? 80, 13, only 13% of all realtors who start being realtors make it after 2 years. So
Oh,
I'm
wow.
one of that. My brain works differently. And so I am one of that small percentage of people who make it because I am made for this. So it's not that, oh, it's too hard. Everyone fails at that. It's what are you made for? Because you'll be good at whatever you're made for.
Absolutely. And if you're listening to this episode and you feel like you tend to be drawn to things differently than the crowd, or you don't feel like you're aligned with what everyone else is wanting to do, this is your sign that it's not that anything is wrong with you. It's that little peak of your authentic self poking out and saying, "Hey, this is not for you." And that's okay because something else is meant for you.
I love that. So wise.
Oh, thank you, Kim. Thank you for joining us today, too. It was such a good conversation. I loved everything we talked about, and I've never had a realtor on here before. So I've never really been able to dive into the topic of how our space can help us grow or hold us back. So thank
Mm.
you for opening up that conversation with us today. Kim is, like we were saying, she's a podcast host. She hosts Live in Your Wheelhouse podcast. So make sure you guys go and check that out. I'll also have her website linked down below, her socials, her books, so you can go and check out all of her works. Thank you, Kim, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and I will see you guys next week.